What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Nigeria and Miranda. We're back this week to talk about, well, impact on AXS TV, but also I think we need to also talk about Turning Point, which happened over the weekend on Impact Plus. What a crazy weekend. And I think the one thing, because we're not going to really break down that show, we're just going to talk a little bit about the stuff that came out of it, the many headlines that came out of it. But I think this is a good sign and indication of folks to invest in Impact Plus, because what a pay-per-view that was, and they got one more coming up at the end of the year, December 12th for Final Resolution, which will also be another exclusive on Impact Plus. And if there's any indication from this past weekend that you should get it, I mean, I don't know what else to say, but a lot has came out of it. You know, we got somebody debuting it. We got a new debuting talent. We got champion switching hands, and then we got some storyline implications that came out of it. So we'll definitely talk about in a second. But before we get into it for the night, as always, how are you doing tonight, Miranda?
I'm doing pretty good, and I have to agree. I mean, this past Saturday at Turning Point, it was a lot of surprises. You know, you go into, not a major pay-per-view, but a monthly pay-per-view, and you don't expect a lot to change, but there was definitely headlines that came out of this. Big changes, big implications as we're moving forward to Turning Point, and ultimately Hard to Kill. So, yeah, I mean, if you missed out, it's not too late. There's still time for you to join Impact Plus. But I agree, it's a sign that you never know what you're going to get anytime you watch Impact Wrestling, whether it's on AXS TV or the Impact Plus app.
Yep, absolutely. And we don't work for them or anything. I know I'm marketing hard right now, but
right?
We don't work for them.
But it's true. It's very true.
Yeah. And anybody, most of our fans that watch this that are Impact fans, they understand. Like, you might have been on the limb of saying, do I spend the extra money on something? Money could be thin. Obviously, it's understandable with the pandemic and everything. But like, I'm just here to say, like, this now confirms like this is an investment that folks should definitely, who are fans of Impact, should definitely put on a things to do list, because just what a weekend it was on there. And then obviously get a library of tons of other stuff as well. So definitely worth having for sure. But yes, like I said, you got a new Knockouts champion as Deonna Purrazzo reclaims her now two-time Knockouts champion. The Impact Tag Team Champions have switched hands. Now the Good Brothers are now wearing the gold. So they got all the merch and all the gold now here. Moose has turned on his aggression, and I'm really, really, really liking it. We'll talk about the match tonight. And then we have a debuting Joe Doering, who is aligning himself with Eric Young. And we're going to talk about this for just a quick second. Now, Joe has been in All Japan Wrestling. You've heard all the accolades tonight, but I guess the first thing for me is one, it's always great to bring in new talent for the work I've seen in All Japan, which is something I don't regularly catch, but I have a friend who's like really avid on it. So when I definitely do check it out, definitely a staple in that company. Triple Crown winner. I guess for me, here's the thing. We had Eric Young a lot with Ken Shamrock and Sami Callihan. We was like, oh, shit. Yeah. Now you got Joe coming in as another Savage, and it's clear that the two groups have separated. That seemed to have been some crazy union that just happened as a one-off, possibly. Because we've seen at the end of tonight's episode that Sami and Ken are doing their own thing, attacking the Rascalz and Rich Swann, and then we see Joe and Eric doing their own thing, attacking people earlier in the show. But I guess for me, and what I kind of want to start off with, I first asked to the fans, then Miranda, you jump in there, is that do y'all think that Eric needed a muscle with him? My answer is no. So I'm curious to see why. I think one, it could be the idea that, Joe in All Japan doesn't have to be a mouthpiece for language barrier reasons, but maybe he does need one, and that's why they decide that Eric is the person to do so. All character stuff aside, Eric Young, as I've always said, anybody I spoke to and have spoken to Eric, everyone says how good of a person Eric Young is, and he's the person you want in your locker room. I can almost imagine him saying, I'll take him under my wing, I'll get him right, I'll work him into a program, and here's where we have it. So Eric Young, the person, I get it. Eric Young, the character, I need to see where this goes, because Eric Young by himself was just a lot. Mm-hmm. The best heel in wrestling. So adding somebody, I don't know, is it a yes or no? Does it make it better? Because sometimes too much is not good. Yeah. So I'm treading the water a little likely here on this one. But yeah, Miranda.
Yeah, I think it's too early to tell. Literally, this is just the second time we've seen them with Joe debuting at Turning Point. So we haven't really had a lot to see. I absolutely agree. Eric Young, the character, did not need this. I think, if anything, it is kind of interesting now how he's kind of pivoted away from the world title picture and now is in this other place with Joe, and I don't know if he's going to leverage that. I think it would make sense if he's trying to leverage that to make his way to the title picture, but also at the same time, as you mentioned, it looks like Sami Callihan and Ken Shamrock are moving in that direction with Rich Swann. So I think it's probably a great way to introduce Joe to an American audience, and by pairing him with one of the best heels in all of pro wrestling right now and an Impact staple, it's an amazing rub. But yeah, at the same time too, will it do not necessarily harm to Eric Young, but is it gonna be, it's gonna help Joe way more than it's gonna help Eric Young? And is that going to almost stall Eric Young in any future stories, because he's now doing something secondary with Joe instead of really going for the title picture? So, but I think it's still too early to tell. I don't think of it maybe as a muscle, but it could be as, just someone under the wing of Eric Young that he can utilize and almost manipulate to what he wants and what he needs. And maybe playing a little smarter, not harder. That I could see that being kind of a tactic he uses. But honestly, it's too early to tell. I'm going to reserve some judgment. I'm going to give it a little bit of time. I haven't been super impressed by it, but that's the world of wrestling. One week you may not like something, the next week it will flip you on your head and you become a fan.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm gonna give it a little bit of time, but I want to throw it out there to see what you thought, and obviously I want to hear what the fans have to think. Do you like this pairing, or how do you think it's going to work? I want to hear a booking prediction here as to what's going to happen with the two of them. Now let's talk about the Knockouts Tag Team Tournament. Now, we have talked about this. We've been excited for this. We even gave our thoughts about this. And what do you know, folks? Maybe we know just a little bit. Just a little bit here as the bracket is set. It came out over the weekend. I bugged Miranda crazy about how happy I was about it when I saw it come out. And I was happy because, well, I definitely called two of these teams in here. Deonna Purrazzo and Kimberly. Now that may have possibly have seemed like a given, but no. They didn't have to do this, but the fact that they did let me know that they obviously seen them as a tandem like we see them. They just have a certain aesthetic, a certain feel and vibe to them, and like they legit come off as a tag team. As much as it's been about Deonna, I saw tag team potential in them, and here we are. And they never made a claim for it until tonight. That's the funny thing. So seeing that, they're in the tournament officially, first round versus Taya and Rosemary, which should be a really good match. I mean, Deonna and Taya right there. Hell, Kimberly and Rosemary, like the combinations in that match is just
gonna be good.
I'm excited for it. But the Sea Stars. Now, I've watched the Sea Stars wrestle. I'm about to tongue-tie myself. I watched the Sea Stars wrestle all over the place. They are fantastic. Delmy and Ashley Vox, they're sisters. They are your Battle Club tag team champions right now, Battle Club in New York. They are very, very familiar with Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan. And with that being said, while they may not be somebody you're instantly familiar with on TV, although they've, I believe Ashley has made an appearance in NWA, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Ashley, she had a few matches for NWA Power last year. So yeah, I mean that already for me that was one of the first times I saw Ashley. So anyone who's familiar with that show will be familiar with Ashley.
Yeah. So with that being said, while again with them being very familiar with Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz, expect a fantastic match that should probably be the match of the tournament. Strictly right now, wow. I'm going that high. There's just a lot of chemistry amongst the four of those ladies, and I cannot wait. And Ashley and Delmy are just some of the nicest people that I've ever met. And regardless of how nice they are, they do the works in the wrestle with all attitude and gracefulness. And they do intergender wrestling, so they've wrestled some of the best male tag teams in the world. One of my favorite matches actually is them and the Ugly Ducklings, another tag team that I hope to see on television soon. That are just I could talk about them for a whole other hour. But the Sea Stars are one of my favorite tag teams in all of wrestling. Them being in this tournament, I called it, and here we are. I love it. I love it. I love it. Now we have to. Let's in respect. We'll talk about the other tag team that's here as well. Killer Kelly and Renee Michelle. Killer Kelly, obviously of former of NXT UK. Renee Michelle of WWE. She was with why can't I think of her name? Her husband
Drake Maverick.
Yes. So and she's wrestled all over as well too. Yeah. So two noble names as a parent, never seen them work together.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious about the pairing here and the chemistry that they have. But Jordynne Grace and TBA, as we see, Jordynne Grace made a call today, and she's made a call to somebody that she's very humbled that they are willing to take this opportunity, and that although she heard that they're retired, that they're willing to do this. I'm done talking. I talked a lot, Miranda. I already know who my prediction is here. Fans, who is your prediction? Before Miranda gets it right, who's your predictions? Go ahead and let us know.
Well, I have to admit, I think they alluded to it as well during the Impact Plus match of the week. If they, no, I'm sorry. I jumped ahead. I kept thinking of that this person was featured on the Impact Plus match of the week, and that's not.
If you're talking about Gail Kim, she was.
Yeah. No.
Oh.
Well, now I'm confused. Now I'm not sure who I think it is. Because at one point I thought it was and she used to go by Victoria in WWE, but I forgot her.
Oh my God. And I literally, you're absolutely on this one, because I literally was thinking to myself, like, who just said they were retired, and then all of a sudden their social media was saying that they were available again.
Yes.
Victoria WWE.
Yes.
Why the name is not dropped out? I'm just gonna look it up right now. Yes. Yeah, Lisa Marie.
Oh yes, yes.
So yeah, I can see that.
Tara.
Yeah.
Yes, that was when I first jumped to. But yeah, no, it was also alluding to, someone during the Impact Plus match of the week in Gail Kim. So I mean, that seems like signs are pointing to that.
I'm gonna go a little Westfield with this one. Like I'm gonna go like way less. Tara and Victoria. I was like, why can't I think of her name? But
Yes,
Lisa.
Lisa. Yeah, Lisa Marie. But because that was someone who, I know was on social media mentioning that she was retiring and was looking for some final matches. Someone who's part of Impact history. Same thing with Gail Kim too. So I mean those are just the two people that came across my mind. And usually too with Impact Plus match of the week, there's always a tie-in. They always tie it in somehow.
Yeah, you're right. And that's really hard to argue with here. So I said last week that I would like for it to have been the Beast. I thought that would just, I would have loved what they would have did with that. But after listening to this promo, and then I started thinking for a minute, I was like, I think if you're going to do this with Jordynne Grace, it needs to make sense. Has to be somebody she's worked with, somebody she's trust, somebody that was a mentor of hers. And if you're going to keep Jordynne Grace out of singles competition, then this needs to be somebody with longevity. And I don't think you're leaving this TBA for it to just be somebody that's just going to do a one-off here with two people that potentially could be a one-off. So if I think about how the money's going to be dividend here, I'm thinking you're going to let the two people that could be one-offs go away, and then you legit bring in one person that's going to give you one or two matches here. My guess here is going to be Lufisto. And her and Jordynne has a lot of history. Lufisto who just beat cancer, retired, then became available, and has been, when you talk about conditioning, Lufisto's looking like Lufisto of old. And when people talk about all of, the ladies who paved the ways for other ladies, when you think about the likes of people like Sarah Del Rey, when you think about people like Mercedes Martinez, the other person in that company is Lufisto, who every time you want to talk about the greatest of women's wrestling, her name is instantly there for me without a question. And again, she had to battle some health things, and she absolutely beat it like the badass she is. I think it's time to see where her career goes moving forward. I know she lobbied her ass off to be in the Mae Young Classic. Things happen. That didn't happen. This, I think, makes so much sense for her. And I think it's just something that I would like to see her do. If this is going to be the reason why she gets back into the ring, and ultimately which may restart her career again. So Jordynne Grace and Lufisto, matter of fact, folks, go Google that. Get on some YouTube right now. Go check the two of them two out, because that's a duo right there that I've seen in person, and it's something I want to see in Impact. That would be interesting. But I can't wait. The tournament started tonight. We had Tenille, Dashwood, and Alisha versus Havok and Nevaeh. I had, without no question, that Havok and Nevaeh was moving forward.
Yeah, you kind of knew what was happening here pretty quickly, and this came from developments from Turning Point. Originally, Tenille Dashwood came with her tail tucked between her legs to Jordynne Grace, saying, "Hey, you want to be on a team?" Even though that's something that Jordynne had proposed a few weeks back, and she turned her down. So she had the opportunity to prove herself at Turning Point. That didn't turn out so well, and so you ended up having Tenille teaming up with Alisha, who was one of the only knockouts on the current roster without a partner. So, that was kind of a makeshift team, and we saw Tenille do what she does best, which is it's all about her. And she kind of left Alisha high and dry. But you also can't beat the chemistry of Havok and Nevaeh. I mean, they've been, a tag team on the independent scene for years. So you just knew from the moment this bracket was set that it was going to be very hard to beat that pair.
Yep, absolutely. And I think the idea of making an identity for the tournament is having legit tag team. So that's the reason why Jordynne Grace and Lufisto makes sense to me. And they already have matching gear, by the way. So it's just, get it done. And no disrespect to any of the former knockouts of Impact Wrestling, but I just don't want it to just be somebody that's just somebody just to put it in there with Jordynne. I don't know. I feel like I'm really protective of Jordynne because I just like her so much that I just wanted to make sense. That's all. I really do, because she's been trying to navigate an Impact right now as of like the last month or two is exactly what they were going to do with her. You know, she was in the X Division match. She was in the championship, the Knockouts Championship picture at a point. Now she's in the tag tournament. So she's been floating around, but like, I don't want to see this. This is another like curveball in there with her name attached to it. She's one of the best wrestlers in the world. And I just want to always make sure that she's always treated and booked to the highest caliber as she should be. So that's where I'm just coming at with that. So let's get into the card really quick. Moose and his Willie Mack match, which is the rematch, no DQ match. You know me. I say it all the time. I'm just not a fan of rematches of title matches.
Especially right after a show.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan of it. But I Moose with aggression. So this is a good match, believe it or not. I like this. I like the story that it told. To be honest, I don't know who Moose was facing in this match because the Willie Mack that I like is nowhere to be found in this match.
Right. It was really surprising to see how dominant Moose was against someone like Willie Mack, who is so agile, who can, I've said I've never seen him have a bad match with anyone on the Impact roster, even when you think it would. But I have never seen Willie be so dominated in a match with this new Moose though. But I mentioned it earlier, 1 week in wrestling, we don't like something and then the next we do. I do feel like I'm kind of turning a corner with Moose in this new persona and this new attitude. You know, the fact that it did take that whole run with EC3 and kind of wasting EC3 to get to this point, I'm still not a fan of, but I do love this new attitude and approach with Moose. And I mean, Willie Mack is now kind of the first true victim of that. It does leave me a little scared because Willie Mack is amazing and I don't want to see him in that position where he's completely dominated. Because like you said, it didn't look like a Willie Mack we knew because we just never seen him like that. But that also does help sell this new iteration of Moose, that he is so dominant and powerful, and just like this beyond mean streak, this aggressive attitude with him that it seems like he's really turned a corner, talking a lot less and doing a lot more action. So yeah, I'm not mad at that.
They kept talking about how big Moose was as if Willie Mack's not a big guy. That's I was like, yo, I understand that you want to sell the dramatics, but like we're watching this and we can see that Willie Mack is a big guy, Moose is a big guy. Big could be this way, big could be this way. So yes, Moose is tall and Willie Mack is wide, but they're both big guys.
They're both big. Yeah. I mean, I wish if you would upsell Moose as well, then it would be like, wow, Moose is being so dominant over such a big guy as well. But the fact that they're only playing up Moose as being big, it's like, that doesn't help I don't know. I agree.
So Miranda, do you care about Geo versus Suicide?
Okay, so I don't care about that. However, can we jump to Scott D'Amore's? Because I'm telling you,
look who's reading my notes here.
Yes. So do I care about that match? No. However, Rohit Raju won, the Beat Rohit challenge.
Oh, by the way, folks, quick disclaimer: Miranda called this too.
Yes, no, I did. Scott D'Amore's listening to this because we just did a whole segment on this week's Impact on AXS TV. Yes, Rohit Raju is still your X Division champion after Turning Point, and Rohit was backstage with Scott D'Amore again with that dry humor. I'm loving it. Pretty much Rohit asking Scott, when is he going to get all of the perks? When is he finally going to get the recognition? Rohit leaves and soon TJP shows up. And Scott D'Amore mentions, you know what, TJP, I get it. I was really rooting for you, but you, TJP, could never challenge for the X Division Championship again as long as Rohit is the champion. But you know what? I just wish there was something that could be done, referencing the great Dusty Rhodes. What would Dusty do? What would he do to navigate this situation, to figure this out? You, TJP, cannot challenge. But maybe if there was someone else, if there was just someone by another name, or like just alluding to what I said last week, where TJP will not challenge, but you know what? Suicide can. I mean, really reading my mind, putting it out there. And, TJP was just pensive, thinking about it. Scott D'Amore does have a point. Maybe TJP won't be able to challenge, but somebody else can.
Well, we'll have to see. I mean, Suicide didn't just do a squash match for no reason.
Right, Suicide.
In case you didn't know,
Suicide wasn't even there. Like, I mean, yes, he was in a squash match. Yes, however, he was still there, and we had not seen him in quite some time. So we could have had anybody else on the roster. Could have been Cousin Jake, for all we know. Could have been that. Yeah. That's a good squash.
Yeah, because obviously Gio's nobody. So
right. You could have at least given 20 seconds to put Cousin Jake over.
Yeah. Not to mention Scott D'Amore saying he missed the Austin Aries days.
Yes. Oh God, man. I'm telling you, Scott D'Amore's dry commentary humor is selling me. I
was like, what?
Damn, it must be that bad. If he's looking at Rohit saying, I miss the Austin Aries day.
Yeah, I was like, what? And folks, if you have no clue what he's talking about, then I'm sorry. But those the Aries days.
Look it up. Yeah, look it up. That's not a compliment.
Yeah.
That's not a compliment to Rohit.
I was about to say, for all the good all the good wrestling and competition in those days, there's a lot of bad press, publicity, drama, and everything else revolved around that. Also cool to see Impact promoting the New Japan Pro Wrestling Super J Cup, which Chris Bay and TJP is going to be in. So I don't know. Maybe TJP goes over there and comes back as a new.
Well, I was going to say TJP will go. But that's it. TJP will be out there in the Super J Cup. But maybe somebody else will come in his place that has a mask on that we saw wrestle this week, and then he could say, "I wasn't me. I wasn't even there. Yep. I was off, doing my own thing with New Japan."
Yep. So Brian Myers and Crazy Steve. I mean, to be honest here, I'm not going to bash this match because this is a good, very solid wrestling match. Let's be clear, as Brian Myers continues to be on his mean streak and we see him wrestle each and every week, let's not forget that Crazy Steve did resign to Impact Wrestling. So him getting a really good, solid wrestling match today with Brian Myers, I think just is a little bit about, I think it speaks a little bit about where we're going to get with Crazy Steve moving forward. Maybe get away from the gimmick stuff just a little bit here.
Yeah.
And get to really show why he was brought back inside, because he's legit. He got WWE tryout. And he came back to Impact Wrestling. He's healthy, and him and Brian Myers, I thought they put on a very, very good, solid match. So, just definitely, I think, keep an eye out on Crazy Steve to see what happens with this character moving forward. Now, I don't understand how Hernandez and Fallah Bahh match is still about this wall of cash. How is this storyline still happening? This is so drawn out. I'm about to give one of these dudes some money and say,
just to stop. I'll pay you to stop.
But overall, I mean, Hernandez, let it be known too, as a TNA original.
He's an OG. Yeah, Hernandez is an OG. Yeah. And I do feel like it's a little wasted that he keeps being put in these comedy angles. Maybe that's what he wants. But I mean, he is an OG. He can be a badass. Like he is an original in not only Impact, but just in wrestling. And the fact that we keep having him in these types of, he had it started with Rhino. Now it's with Fallah Bahh. He had some, almost an alliance with Reno Scum at one point. All about it just, it's nothing that impressed me. It's nothing that's watched must-see TV. I think it's great for Fallah Bahh because this is really now his singles run. Yeah. And we haven't really seen that. And it was two big dudes up against each other, which, is usually pretty entertaining. But I'm not invested in this angle at all.
Yeah. Comedy hour. But yeah, I have nothing else to add about that. Good for the reasons you said. I'm with you on that. I'm 100% with you on No rebuttal. Okay, 2 other things really quick to talk about. Now, who shot Johnny Bravo? Now, clearly, this is your real comedy hour of Impact Wrestling.
Yes.
But I don't care about none of that because y'all already know where I'm coming at with this.
Go.
Johnny Swinger.
That smoking gun himself. Got it.
When he came in, and I saw the gun coming out the fanny pack, and everyone's eyes should have been on the fanny pack because of last week. And I was like, is that the gun hanging out? And I was like, to me, I was like, oh, this is just bad editing. There's no way they wanted that to purposely happen until how they played it out. And I couldn't stop laughing. When Tommy Dreamer asks, is that the Magnum right there? Number one, folks.
Oh.
That gun is not a Magnum. Number one. And number 2, we already knew where they were going with that. Johnny Swinger is absolutely one of the funniest characters.
It's exactly what you think it is. It's exactly what you think it is.
Oh boy. What can I say about that?
Comedy hour on Impact.
Comedy hour. All right, Miranda. Let's before I talk about the main event, let's talk also about Scott D'Amore segment with the Good Brothers. And the Good Brothers, obviously, the North, as we've seen that why is it all ego Ethan Page wants the rematch, as he should, the North. Yep. But in order for him to do that, well, he has to face an opponent and beat them. And that opponent is a phenomenal wrestler.
Phenomenal. There was just so much indie carny talk in that whole thing. Like if you know, you know, and if you don't, it sounds like a foreign language. But they are fluent in wrestling carny talk, and they were just, spilling that out. But yeah, they were alluding to, in order for them to have their rematch against the Good Brothers, Ethan Page would have to first face someone of their choosing, someone who's phenomenal.
And your uncle, by the way.
Yeah.
And something about their auntie
Andy Winding.
So you look, folks, let's not get off our rails here. AJ Styles is not coming to
No, he's not, but
somebody from Talking Shop Mania might be coming. So
oh man.
The foolishness.
Yes. And that's perfect interpromotional wrestling. When you think about it, Talking Shop-A-Mania on Impact Wrestling, that's really the collaboration we need to see. We talk about this every week. Impact beyond New Japan, Impact working with AEW. No, the real collaboration we need is Impact working with Talking Shop-A-Mania.
You are right.
Book it. We know you listen. Book it.
That's right. They do need to bring us in for not just media calls, but like we need to be in there and creative and
we got all the good ideas for you. Impact,
Oh boy. Okay. Let's talk about the main event, the Rascalz in their final match. Now, I said the Rascalz wasn't going nowhere, especially Zach Wentz, whose wife in Kimberly is on Impact, who came from where they are rumored to be going. I don't know. I don't get this one here.
I was gonna say, I think the internet exploded very shortly after we posted our video last week, because really, as we were watching it, you think the Rascalz isn't gonna go. They're not gonna go anywhere. Maybe this is a storyline, but then speculation grew about them going to another company. And to be honest, it was kind of shocking that actually happened. Not because they're not talented and they're, they wouldn't be a great fit, but it also leaves you wondering, what does that look like for the Rascalz? Is it all 3 of them? Is it a few of them? What is that going to look like? Because the big thing too about the Treehouse gimmick is that it borderlines a little bit on adult humor and content. And when you think about where they're speculated to go, that's not their forte. They take it down a notch. So it would almost be a rebranding, a new look for them.
That's
And
for sure.
you wonder, what is that going to look like? And they were really one of the most entertaining aspects of Impact Wrestling on a weekly basis. So when news started to break and rumors started to come out that this was truly going to be their last week and they were moving on to greener pastures, that it really felt real.
Yeah, for me, they will be missed in the Impact ring, but always good to see people get career advancements. I agree with you. I don't see how this works for them. Their gimmick, the trio, their chemistry with each other. I know that another company can say like, oh, I surely would want the three of them, but which company would actually use the three of them in a way that keeps them all strong and
yes,
and makes the signing worth it, keeps the fans invested? What makes this a big signing if you're not going to utilize them the right way? For me, I felt like this, their homegoing match was a little bit lackluster. Why not have them all three together? I like everything that they did as far as the presentation at the end of the match, putting their coats up on the ring and everything like that. But this could have been done better for me. I'm sorry. And I just feel like they've gave so much over the last 2 years specifically to, elevating other talent, putting on some amazing matches, putting their bodies completely on the line. I feel like this is just a tad bit underwhelming. But it's business. Everybody don't get the whole razzle dazzle. I wouldn't be surprised if we see them back in Impact in a couple of years, but they're still very young. Still got a lot of gas left in the tank, and they'll be missed. They will be missed, and this is a huge, huge hole in the roster.
Yeah,
like
it really is. I mean, you lose out on, Trey Miguel, who was really multifaceted as a tag competitor in the X Division scene and even in the world title picture. I mean, he's really done it all. He was a true underdog and one that fans really gravitated towards. And with Wentz and Dez, a really, really strong tag team. And they've been really pushed under the rug for quite some time, which is also kind of sad, but it does leave a hole in the tag division, a reliable team, an athletic team, and also just a big source of comedy. I did enjoy as they kind of had this road down memory lane, or what they could remember lane. And that was kind of just, the Treehouse segment was one of the funnier segments on a weekly basis. And again, that whole, just the characters and the whole gimmick was one that blurred enough lines where as an adult, it's funny and you get it, but also, maybe it's not, it's still, fairly innocent humor. And that's very rare to have something that's both can translate to a niche or small audience and also to a bigger audience. So I could absolutely see why another company would look at them, not only their in-ring talent, but their personalities, and say, yeah, we want you on board. But that, I think, is a unique thing that we've consistently heard about Impact, is that they have that flexibility to have more control over their characters in their storylines, over their development. And that's not the case everywhere else. So when you lose some of that, what happens now? But I agree. It was kind of a weird way to have Dez and Wentz on one team and then Rich Swann and Trey on the other. But you could tell it was very emotional, true emotion for the commentary team. I mean, instantly Josh Matthews' voice just kind of went down an octave because, it was that realization that this was going to be the last time they would call them in the ring. The emotions on their faces throughout the match. And especially afterwards, you could truly feel like it was this end of a chapter. And it's one of those things that as a wrestling fan, it's sad, but you also are excited to see what's next for them. I mean, there is a lot of potential. We could see them on such bigger stages, and then we'll just kind of reminisce on moments like this when they were on Impact Wrestling. And, not everyone gets almost that happy ending, quote unquote, because we'll talk about what happened afterward. But, you know, they did get to have a nice farewell, which not everyone gets to have. So I'm glad that that Impact provided that to them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all I have for my thoughts of this weekend. Definitely ready to see what matches is announced for next week for the tournament, as the tournament will have its championship at Hard to Kill. And then again, we have one more Impact exclusive coming up in December. So we definitely got a lot of other things we need to talk about. Final Resolution should be definitely interesting. That's just now, folks, you have about a month to get Impact Plus to catch up on everything. But if anything, continue to watch Impact on AXS TV each and every week, depending on where you're listening to this from, either your Tuesday nights or your Wednesday nights, if you're over in the UK. But that's all my thoughts about tonight's show. Definitely, folks, let us know in the comments. What did you think about tonight's show? Who do you think Jordan Grace tag team partner is going to be? And what do you think about this new pairing of Eric Young and Joe from All Japan Wrestling now, who seems to be, I don't know, you said not the muscle. I see muscle. What do you all call it? You tell me. Book this for me. I need to know.
Yeah, you gotta let us know. I mean, maybe even help decide, who's right in this argument. I don't know. I mean, it's still very early to tell, but this could either go really good or really bad.
Yeah, and let it be known, Joe Doring is like he's the man for sure. It's not a big, sexy, attractive name that's coming out of free agency, but definitely one that now back in U.S. territories is really looking to make a name for himself. So we will see. But as always, folks, tune in each and every Tuesday, 10 p.m. for our review of Impact on AXS TV. Talk to us in the comments, jump in the chat, let us know your thoughts, interact with us, and we'll see you each and every week. But as always, thank you so much for watching this one, and we are out. Thank you for watching. See y'all.